look what made it finally to my house after almost 2 weeks in transit. I was actually quite surprised that this took so long because I saw that it was shipped with DHL and I kind of expected it to be like the DHL Express given how expensive this shit is, but it was just good old regular DHL and it literally took 2 weeks since it was shipped to arrive here. It's going to be my very first time trying Victoria Beckham's brand and I am actually quite excited about it. Just in case you were wondering why you're seeing me in my home attire again, I have one word for you: COVID. Also, I almost can't believe that I'm saying this, but I have COVID for the 3rd time this year. I'm kind of hoping that this one will just stay at the positive test stage and will not move further than that, but it is extremely poor timing because for those of you who remember that I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, that I would be finally on the other side of a PhD defense and I would be sitting together with the committee members. Yeah, that's not going to happen because that defense is tomorrow and I'm in sweet quarantine. Anywho, let's just talk about the makeup. So the first thing I wanted to address is my interest in Victoria Beckham's brand, because I've been thinking about her brand and trying makeup products from her for at least a year now, and I was just very intrigued by her packaging, by her message on the website in terms of sustainability of, you know, the packaging as well as the makeup products themselves, because even though the makeup products are coming in this really hefty packaging, a lot of them I think are refillable. For example, the bronzers and I think the eyeshadow palettes are both refillable. The actual package comes in cushioned, let me show you, in between these little like protective foam thingies, and you would think, oh no, this is so wasteful, this is going to be totally, you know, something that ends up in the trash and creates so much waste. No, the packaging actually instructs you that this is made from non-GMO cornstarch, and you can dissolve it under water. I'm definitely going to be playing with that later because this sounds like a really fun science experiment. And also just wanted to like quickly, at first I was a little bit annoyed when I saw the non-GMO cornstarch, but she's not talking about the products and I don't think she's referring to GMO cornstarch in the way that usually annoys me, which is in the sense that something is going to happen to you if you're eating genetically modified food. Spoiler, you've been eating genetically modified food since the dawn of time. Anyway, completely not to the point, but I think there are a lot of environmental factors to consider when it comes to GMO crops, and maybe she's concerned about the fact that GMO crops of cornstarch can be very detrimental to the environment, and that is her idea of using non-GMO cornstarch in order to make this protective foam. I can't be sure, but you know, I like to believe that that is why she's doing it. I ordered quite a few things to try, and maybe before we talk about the brand, I would like to quickly talk about Victoria Beckham herself, because in the 90s, if you asked me about Posh Spice, the only thing I would have told you is that I consider her to be an incredibly stiff dancer and a very untalented singer. Back when she was in Spice Girls, I considered her to be the weakest link. I felt like I had no idea why she was there besides the fact that she sort of looks pretty. So anyway, back in the 90s, Posh Spice was definitely not my favorite spice. If I even had a favorite spice, I don't think I had a favorite spice. But Posh has grown quite a bit in the meantime. You would think that after Spice Girls, marrying David Beckham would have completely like erased her personality and she would have just remained forever that Spice Girl that is now married to David Beckham, but that is not what happened. She has managed to break free from both her Spice Girls past as well as the fact that she's married to Bex and turn into something of her own, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for a woman like that. She may not have been a talented singer, but she has a thing for style. She always looks very stylish. She's a beautiful woman, and she seems to be a very dedicated mom, and I can tell you I have a lot of respect also for what she's doing with her makeup brand, because a lot of these like celebrity makeup brands seem something that was conceived on the spot in 10 minutes without any sort of like planning or a reflection of the person behind the brand. They're just kind of like an afterthought, like, yeah, let's make quick money here. Nikola, still alsjeblieft.
Okay.
Whereas with her brand, I feel like she gave really good thought to what she wants that brand to be and how this brand is going to represent her, and I feel like what we're getting in product everything from the packaging to the actual products is a perfect representation of who Victoria Beckham is, because the packaging is very luxurious but very elegant and clean at the same time, and the makeup products are very much geared towards subtle glam. None of her products are really like flashy, they're not like Pat McGrath, colorful and impactful. They're much more of your like everyday neutral glam. I was able to get everything 20% off because I ordered off of her 20% Cyber Monday sale, which I understand is not something she's done a lot in the past. I think this is the first time she's actually done 20% off sale. And I just noticed that I actually also received this little pouch together with all the makeup products that I ordered. And it also came with this cute little card of what I assume to be her lips, where she's wishing me and my loved ones a safe, happy and healthy holiday season. Now, well, since we all had COVID here in the past few days, I'm assuming that hopefully a healthy holiday season definitely is in the stars for us. Shall we just go on and apply the makeup in the order that I still have to go and apply my makeup? I've basically applied my eyeshadow primer, brows, concealer and foundation and powder, but now we're going to go right into this hefty little number here, which is her bronzer brick. Man kept saying that these are very heavy and that you can probably cause a concussion if you smack someone on the head with these, and they were not lying, they were correct. I don't know that there is any need for me to ramble much about her outer packaging, because I think you're all familiar with the aesthetic of her outer packaging, which is the beautiful tortoise shell design, but gosh, are these hefty. And also, just like with Lisa Eldridge's makeup, I feel like these are also meant to emulate a little bit that vintage makeup packaging, especially with the way this opens. It's like a little click mechanism here, and when you close it, it makes quite the little sound. The bronzer brick I got is in the shade 02. Oops, I think there's a little plastic protector here. I'm going to remove that. And I think these are probably... It has a decently sized mirror, and these are the two shades that are in the 02 bronzer brick. One which is a little bit deeper and one which is a little bit lighter. And you can obviously mix the two if that were your wish. I'm going to quickly swatch these just on the back of my hand to feel the powders. I think the lighter powder, so this is the lighter color of the powder. Let me put a little bit more of the deeper shade. They both have a little bit of luminosity to them. And the lighter color is actually quite light. I'm very curious if this is even going to like show up on my skin, because it is quite light. I'm assuming this is for days when you want to have like almost invisible bronzer contour type of thing. And this is the shade of the deeper color, which is, interestingly enough, I thought this would be quite warm toned, but based on this swatch, I think both of these reside more in the neutral color territory. Actually, I wouldn't call them cool toned, but I also wouldn't call them warm toned. They seem rather neutral toned. Now for science, we're going to try the lighter color, and then we're going to try the deeper one as well. So I'm going to flick my hair off here. Oh, interesting. This is showing up just fine, and it is reminding me a little bit in terms of color to the Hourglass diffused bronze light that I have, which is again that like more neutral cool toned, but this is more subtle. The one from Hourglass can be built up, but this one is just more subtle. This is quite lovely. I can tell you, this is so lovely. This is so neutral toned that you can't go wrong with whatever else you pick for the rest of your face makeup. It is so lovely. Okay, I don't want to yet mix the two colors, so I am now going to take the deeper shade, and I'm going to apply the deeper shade on my cheek before we go on and equalize things on both sides. So here we have the deeper shade. My lighting is not ideal for that. Yeah, you can tell that this is a little bit deeper, but at the same time it also applies quite neutral and quite subtle. and it has a beautiful like natural sheen to it. This is not a glowy bronzer, but it is also not a flat matte. It just has a very natural finish. I'm going to equalize things and just apply a little bit of that deeper shade here over top of the lighter one, just so you can also see what happens when you sort of like mix the two colors. And again, I don't necessarily want to call any of these bronzers cool toned or warm toned, because I think they're truly quite neutral, which is wonderful, because finding a neutral toned bronzer is not easy, let me tell you. Oh, it is actually very ignorant of me to not read what's on the packaging of this. It says warm and contour. So what I am assuming is going on here is that this is meant to contour and this is meant to warm. And I can totally see how that works. I like the two colors together, but I really also like them individually, and I really like how subtle this one is. Basically, those days when you just want to put like a little bit of your base, a little bit of cheek products, mascara and a lipstick, and be out the door, this is the type of product that you can throw on, because it is so like mindless. There is no way that you can overdo this powder. I love it. It is wonderful, and this packaging is so cute. And this click is loud but sort of satisfying. Alright, Victoria Beckham, we are off to a good start. Alright, the next product that we're going to try is the blush. So here I have one of the cheeky Posh colors, and I have mine in the shade Playground. And I want to say that this one is low-key the fault of Martina Lily, because she keeps talking about this specific color of blush. And in all honesty, when I was looking at the colors of the blushes, this one seemed like the most appropriate color for me. This again comes in the tortoise shell, quite slim, quite elegant. It is quite small, but since I've never finished a cream blush in my life, I'm pretty happy with something that comes in a size that seems like realistic for me to finish. And yes, I know it is expensive, so if this is the only blush that you're going to use and you want more product, then unfortunately you're barking at the wrong tree. These are not going to be for you. But this is the color Playground. Let me quickly check how much product is actually in here. I usually don't really care about these things, but this is so like surprisingly small. 5 grams. Yeah, 5 grams really isn't that much. This basically looks like lipstick, you guys. I think there are brands out there that make bigger lipsticks. But okay, whatever. Let's swatch this. Quickly here on the back of my hand, because I want to feel that formula a little bit. Oh, this is such a pretty color. Oh my gosh. It feels not too waxy, and the color of this is like a combination of warm peach, cinnamon, neutral, beige. Don't know how to describe it. This is gorgeous, and I'm very, very excited to try it. And I am going to think now for a little bit what is the closest thing that I can think of in my collection that is similar to this. Maybe one of my Melt cream blush lights. Potentially the original Nude Venus from Pat McGrath. The way I usually go about applying products like this is I just take a brush like this, and usually the product is bigger, so I'm not too worried about going like this. I'm going to just push it back down as much as possible, and I'm going to just paint a little bit here on the blush brush, or just my brush, not necessarily a blush brush. And then I'm going to stipple it. Okay, this works. I can see color applying to my cheek. This is a very nice color, which on me basically applies a little bit like a muted peach cinnamon color. I can build it up a little bit for you. And what surprises me is the formula, because usually with cream products you expect them to have quite a bit of like slip and a bit of waxiness to them, or at least that's a little bit what I'm used to, because as someone who hasn't really tried that many like cream blush formulas, my reference is the cream blush lights from Melt, and they're quite much shinier and waxier. This almost blends out to be like a satin matte again, which is very surprising. I don't know that I was expecting that this would apply so like matte in a way, and not matte in a bad way. You can see that it has a nice like glow to it, but it's very much like the bronzer. It's like a satin matte. It's not really very glowy. So if you hate cream products that are too glowy, you might really enjoy this formula. And this color, in my opinion, is just a very like nice subtle flush, which leans more to the peach rather than to the pink. Yeah, it's just, you know, one of those colors that you can throw on with any look and it will always work. That's a little bit like the way I chose my products from Victoria Beckham was going for my Victoria Beckham look and just thinking about a color combination that would work together so that when I go to apply my products from her, they make a complete look. Not just taking random things that would not necessarily work with each other, but going for a whole package, like a package of products that would work together. Actually, it just occurred to me that this may be a Desert Orchid dupe-ish type of thing. So let's swatch Desert Orchid here from Pat McGrath, my favorite blush of all time. Oh yeah, these look very similar to each other. Alright, here we have Playground from Victoria Beckham, and this is Desert Orchid from Pat McGrath. This has a bit more of a sheen to it, and maybe it's slightly more pink. They may look slightly different swatched out, but I think once you blend them out on your skin, these are going to look pretty similar to each other. You know what? I'm not mad to have another Desert Orchid type of color, especially because it comes in a cream formula. And let's compare now to my cream blush lights from Melt Cosmetics. So this is the shade Lynx, which I think may be the closer dupe to the one from Victoria Beckham, but I just want to show you, see how much more sheen this has, and there's so much more like slip and slide to the formula because this is so much more creamy and waxy in a way. Let me swatch that out right here. And my other cream blush light from Melt is the shade Sundown, which also looks quite similar, so I'm going to swatch this one as well. These are two of my favorite blushes in terms of color. I'm going to put that right here above Desert Orchid. There is a small difference between these. So I think these three are quite similar to each other. The shade Lynx from Melt is a little bit more orangey gold compared to the others. But these are all kind of in the same color family. That like peachy, orangey, bronzy, like sun-kissed look on the face. I'm going to pop a little bit of Golden Moonlight from Pat McGrath just so we complete the look, because I haven't picked up a highlighter from Victoria Beckham. Moving into the eyeshadow palette, you're probably surprised that I picked up an eyeshadow palette from Victoria Beckham, because looking at the color selections and the types of formulas she has and my usual style of makeup, you would be like, why did you pick up eyeshadows from Victoria Beckham? These are way too subtle for you, you're not going to like them. Not only that, I picked up the most boring palette out of them all. I picked up the one with all the beige browns, okay? I picked up the most boring, like, curation of colors from her collection. Because, again, what I wanted was, I was going for a certain look, and I was also going for a certain, like, type of eyeshadow that I can easily pull out of my collection if I just want something, you know, brown through my crease, but I also want to have the choice between something lighter and something to deepen up. FYI, these are tiny. I actually expected this to be more like the size of the bronzer, but these are a lot tinier, just by comparison. I'm afraid to drop someone, so you're going to have to be satisfied with this. Okay, so what you have here is a selection of like a very statuesque type shade, like a more pinky nude, and two gradations of deeper brown shades. Let's swatch them all individually. Maybe I'm going to swatch this one in comparison to Statuesque because they look very similar to each other. These feel very consistent with the bronzing powder. So let's do the Statuesque type shade. Oh, this is more pinky peach compared to Statuesque, I can tell you off the get-go. This is the more pinky one. This is the really deep brown, and this is the medium tone. So here are the four shades. I think an excellent selection of like sort of transition-y type shades and deepening type shades in a small, you know, convenient little bundle in a very easy, hopefully brainless formula to work with. Now let's compare to Statuesque from Pat McGrath, because it immediately came to mind. But I think statuesque is going to be much more like neutral toned and brown compared to the shades from Victoria Beckham. Yeah, see, this is statuesque, this is much more peachy, and this is definitely more like a salmon pink. And because my looks are always about the lid shade, I did of course pick up one of her lid lustres, which she's very well known for, and I can't wait to open it up. I picked up this shade Mink. It comes in this beautiful little pot here. On the photos at least it looked very similar to Divine Mink from Pat McGrath, which is one of my favorite neutral shades, but I can already tell you this looks very sparkly. Let's see. Let's see if my phone can come to the rescue and you can capture a little bit those sparkles. So this is Divine Mink, which is again that minky taupey brown shade, and this has a lot of sparkle in it. And it's very hard for me to tell what kind of sparkle there is. I can see silver. A little bit earlier I was seeing a little bit of blue and maybe pink, but let's give that a swatch. Also, when I was reading the ingredients on this, I was very surprised because the second ingredient in here is water. Is that normal for cream eyeshadow, like cream pot eyeshadows? I don't think I've ever actually looked into my, for instance, Hourglass Scattered Light. Is there water in there as well? Ooh, this feels very putty. Definitely very different to the Hourglass shade, because the Hourglass shades are not as putty. They're much more like flaky feeling almost. But this is very putty. It's like a cream putty. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, I think I may have overdone a little bit how much I picked up. I think I picked up too much. And because this type of eyeshadow can be used as a one and done, I actually feel like we need to go and swatch it a little bit lighter and then just really blend it out, because I feel like applying it this heavily also kind of like masks the sparkles. This is one of those shades where I feel like the more you blend it out, yes, the more you're going to get the sparkles to come through, and the more of that glass effect you're going to get. Also, this is not like pat level sparkly. These are more of what I call a grown-ass lady sparkle. Very reminiscent of Lisa Eldridge. But this is beautiful. This is one of those shades that will easily work as a one and done because of like how blendable and creamy the base is, and how you get the depth from the original color and then that beautiful overlay of glitter. This was way too heavy. We should not have done that. And because I rambled about Divine Mink from Pat McGrath, I feel like we do need to compare them. So this is Divine Mink, and you can already tell how much of a different tone this is. This is so much more gray silver with that like brownish base to it. I'm going to swatch it right here. Blend it out. Look at that extremely strong like silvery taupe brown blue base compared to Mink from Victoria Beckham. Also, this doesn't really have that much sparkles, if at all. This one is more of like your classical metallic shade. So let my mistake be a warning for you. This formula is very creamy and very thick. So you have to go in with a very light hand, otherwise you're going to get a lot of texture on your lids and it's going to look really thick on the lids. So you have to go in with a very light hand here. Okay, so let's start off with the little, how is this one called? This is her signature eyeshadow palette. She does have other ones that come with like more exciting colors, but neither of them is like a really exciting texture. So I thought, you know, if I'm going to go for a boring eyeshadow palette, let's just take the most boring one. I have no interest in using the salmon pink today, so I think I'm going to go for this one, and I'm going to deepen up with this one and maybe a tiny bit with this one, just so we can try all the three colors. Like I said, to me, Mink is a kind of eyeshadow that would work perfectly well on its own. You don't even have to surround it with mattes, but you know, I'm just curious, so I would like to try everything. I'm going into the lighter matte shade with a fluffy blender, and I'm just going to fluff that here through my crease. And this probably will give you like the, on my skin tone at least, like the lightest amount of contour that is almost invisible. So this is also perfect if you just want to blend something out without adding any additional color. Like you've applied a relatively dark eyeshadow, or you want to apply relatively dark eyeshadow but you just want to like blend it up. Then this is the type of shade that would work really well. These are quite powdery, FYI. I'm getting quite a bit of kick up here. Just mentioning that I don't really care about powder kick up at all. but it's applying and blending out really well. It's probably very difficult for you to see because it is essentially the color of my skin, so it's barely showing up as a contour. I'm now going to go into the mid-tone brown shade just with a very light hand, lightly dipping my brush in there, and I'm going to mix that in together with the light transition shade just for a bit more definition here, deeper into the crease. I'm going to take my little detail brush here, the soft definer from Sonia G, and dipping into the darkest brown here, this one. And I'm going to run that right here in the very outer edge of the eye and along the lashes, just to create a bit more depth and definition there. This is going to just make the look appear more smoky, so if you want to go for something more daytime appropriate, you can totally skip a step like this. But I think this palette, the nice thing about this palette is that you can take it from daytime to smoky really quickly, because there is enough, you know, depth of colors in there. And now to the most exciting part. I am going to take Mink and apply that all over the lid. I am, however, going to go in with a brush, and I'm going to take the Worker Pro from Sonia G, which is sort of like a flat brush but also has a little bit of fluff so that we can blend out. And I'm going to take like the tiniest amount of this shade because I want to be able to build it up. I don't want it to start looking really like textured on the lids, and I also want it to be sparkly. Pretty. This is a relatively smoky shade though. She has more of your like classic like rosy, pinky, goldy colors, champagne colors, but I wanted to go for Mink because I'm always drawn to these like taupe brown shades because I think they look just so classy and so elegant. I'm just going to use the same brush on which I have Mink, clean it up a bit and blend here through the crease. On my lower lash line, I'm going to basically take this dark brown towards the very outer edge of the eye, and then the lighter brown in the inner portion. So this one here is going to go in the inner portion of my eye. And if you wanted to, you could even go back into Mink and apply that. And like I said, for a one and down look, I think it's going to work great. But right now, I am enjoying these mattes, so I'm going to apply this one here. Blend it out, and for my inner corner highlight is just sitting here smiling at me from my drawer. I could just take like a good old highlighter, but I don't want to. I want to take a little bit of Astral White from Pat McGrath because I think it's going to look sick as an inner corner highlight together with that Mink shade. You can even run it a little bit over top of that Mink shade if you want to get up those beautiful blue sparkles, but I'm not going to do that because I want to let that Mink shade shine on its own. I applied a light little layer of mascara, nothing too dramatic because like I said, it's like basically the end of the day and I'm just going to hang out at home for a couple of hours more. But now I'm very curious to try the lipstick because the lipstick is really the only like wild card in this whole order. I had a pretty good idea what I'm getting for the rest, but the lipstick was like, I think this color looks pretty, let's try it. The lipstick comes in a very similar slim packaging to the blush, but it is thinner, so smaller. And it comes again, the Victoria Beckham logo here, the tortoiseshell outer packaging, very hefty, very pretty, and I can't wait to see what this color is like. So maybe I should tell you what color I ordered, because I don't know myself, if I'm being completely honest with you. So this is the Posh lipstick in the shade Twist. Let's give that a little swatch right here to see what kind of color we're dealing with. Ooh, I'm just very curious to apply on my lips because swatches of lipstick on the back of the hand pretty much mean nothing to me. So I'm just going to put this on my lips. What this lipstick is making me think of is kind of like a Your Lips but better with a sheen to it, and what attracted me to this specific formula was the allure that it's very much reminiscent of the Luxuriously Lucent from Lisa Eldridge, which is one of my favorite like comfortable, moisturizing, very easy to maintain throughout the day formulas. And this is sort of like a my specific lip color, but with a bit of a sheen to it. I don't. So here is a bit of a zoom on the final look, and I'm also going to shine an artificial light from my phone so that you can see the sparkles of Mink. And what I think is very interesting about the sparkle level of this shade is people's reactions to it, because some people go out and call this like Pat McGrath level sparkle, but I would definitely not call this Pat McGrath level sparkle. My first impressions of all the products that I tried today are pretty positive, and I realized that this is like a luxury treat. Did I need any of these? Was any of this necessary considering my collection of makeup? Absolutely not. But at the same time, I really enjoy everything that I got. I enjoy looking at it. I am going to enjoy using it. And I do hope that I'm going to get a lot of use out of it because it was really fucking expensive. Anyhow, I know a lot of you are also fans of the Victoria Beckham brand. So I'm very curious what you guys have in your collections, what you would recommend, what are your favorite products from her. As usual, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about any of these, and I think you're just going to see them featured in future videos. So we are going to be revisiting this again in the future. But just in case there are things that I missed out or there are comparison swatches that you would like me to do in the future, do let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and we shall see each other again very, very soon. Bye!